Good morning, sir, and
Good
greetings
morning.
from Outlook Group.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this time for
Okay.
this conversation. I am here with certain questions.
Okay.
Can I start?
Yes, sure.
So, are the eastern and western freight corridors fully complete and operational?
Yes. DFC, you know that DFC is comprised of two dedicated freight corridors. One is known as Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor, another one is known as the Western Dedicated Freight Corridor. Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor starts from Ludhiana, which is in Punjab, and goes right up to Sonnagar, which is in Bihar. And total length of this Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor is about 1337 route kilometer. As on date, this is fully commissioned. As regards to Western Dedicated Freight Corridor, it is about 1504 route kilometer double line section. It is about 93.2% commissioned, leaving apart the last phase of the patch, which starts from Betana to JNPT, which is about 102 kilometer. We are working on that corridor, on the remaining patch of that corridor, and we are expecting that this remaining section will be completed by December 25. And with this commissioning of December 25, the remaining portion, entire corridors of the DFC, that is Eastern and Western, will be 100% commissioned.
That is very impressive, sir.
Yeah.
So, currently, what is the traffic and load it is handling?
Actually, on the Eastern corridor, about more than Eastern and Western dedicated freight corridor put together, we are taking about 350 trains, more than 350 trains we are taking daily. So, this is basically we are decongesting the Indian Railway freight, and the impact of this DFC, that is taking this freight from the Indian Railway to the Western corridor and the Eastern corridor. We are taking lot of load from the railways, and the impact is that their punctuality of their trains, passenger trains, has increased a lot. This is the benefit of constructing this dedicated freight corridor. So, a lot of trains we are taking, and we are also very much prepared for the forthcoming Kumbh Mela, which is being organized. That is 12 years Kumbh Mela is in Allahabad. So, we are fully geared to take up further trains. Any increase in traffic of the freight, we can take the freight trains, so that passenger services are free for the running of passenger trains to take care of the traffic on the Indian Railways. So, we are fully geared about that.
It has been reported that DFCCIL is in talks with e-commerce and logistics enterprise for faster movement of small cargo. Which companies is DFCCIL signing it for?
Yes, actually dedicated freight corridor, the concept and the genesis of dedicated freight corridor is basically to reduce the national logistics cost. You know that on Indian Railway, the preference is always being given to passenger traffic, and while the most of the earning comes from the freight traffic, and freight traffic basically comes after the passenger traffic. A lot of congestions are there on the Indian Railway passenger network and freight network. Now, with the commencement and commissioning of this dedicated freight corridor, what we are doing, we are running the trains very fast, and because this is only a freight segment, no passenger trains can run on the dedicated freight corridor. So, we have thought that to increase the speedy delivery and to improve the supply chain, that we want to rope in the various e-commerce giants like Amazon. We have roped in Amazon in Western corridor in Gujarat area. Now, this is a fast service. That means that 5-6 wagons are being given to Amazon. They load it, and in a timetable delivery, we move it their cargo in a very fast manner, so that it reaches to the customer at a very speedy mode. And apart from Amazon, we are also exploring on the Western corridor and the Eastern corridor, and how we can leverage our facilities to these e-commerce giants, so that the final aim is that the total cost which is being taken from the customer can be reduced drastically.
So, DFCCIL has successfully completed 1-year trial of truck on train service. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How much freight have you been able to woo away from the highway, and what has been the learning curve like?
Yes, this is a very important question, and I will be very happy to tell you about that. This truck on train services has been started from Gujarat, that is from Palan in Ahmedabad, near Ahmedabad, and it goes right up to Rewari. Rewari is in Rajasthan. It is totally about 636 route kilometer. Now, all these milk trucks basically are loaded at Palanpur and goes up to the Rewari, and it is unloaded at Rewari, then it goes to the final destination. Now, with the advent and with the use of truck on train services, about 26,000 trucks has been taken away from the highway. You know that what is the impact that is on the environmental front, and apart from the environmental front, you can see that how many accidents, probable accidents of these trucks, suppose they are moving on the highways, then how dangerous they are and how much carbon dioxide they are emitting in the atmosphere. So, we have reduced this and we have basically facilitating improving the environment, and that is a sustainable mode of transportation by using the truck on train services from Palanpur to Rewari. And we are planning that we want to extend this services from Palanpur to Rewari to up to Pirthala. Pirthala is basically in Haryana, and it is very near to Faridabad, so that more and more trucks can be taken away from the national highway and it can be put on the trains run by dedicated freight corridor.
So there have been reports that DFCCIL is planning and working on more dedicated freight corridors to connect to other major business hubs. What are the new corridors planned?
That is very relevant questions in connection with the existing corridor that we already commissioned up to 96.2%. Now, you know that the concept of dedicated freight corridor is basically to reduce the national logistics cost, which is as of now, which is about hovering about 14 to 15%, while in the advanced countries it is hovering about 7 to 8%. When the logistics cost is high, then definitely it is being basically translated to the end customer, and any product goes to the customer at a slightly higher rate. The fundamental thing is that we want to reduce the logistics cost, and I already told that the impact of existing dedicated freight corridor is immense, and all these benefits are being passed on to the end customers. Now, in that connection, ministry, that is Ministry of Railway, under which this PSU, that is a dedicated freight corridor, is working under the administrative control of Ministry of Railway. Ministry of Railway has given the mandate that kindly survey more corridors connecting the various major hubs of the nation. In this connection, we have been mandated to conduct the detailed project survey of 3 corridors, and these 3 corridors, one is the East Coast Corridor, which starts from Kharagpur and goes to Vijayawada, that is about 1100 route kilometer double line. And another corridor is North-South Corridor that starts from the Itarsi. That Itarsi, you know, that lies in Madhya Pradesh, and it goes right up to Vijayawada. And the third corridor is basically connecting the east to west. It starts from Kharagpur, or you can say Kolkata, and goes up to Mumbai, that is near to Palghar. It is about 2200 route kilometer. So, put all together, it is about 4800 kilometer new corridors, for which we have surveyed, DFC has surveyed the corridors, and we have submitted the reports to the Ministry of Railway for their further consideration. So, I am very confident that these corridors, if the concept for which it has been created, and if more and more corridor comes, definitely it will add to the reduction of the national logistics cost of the country.
And lastly, sir, what are the new technologies used in DFC projects? How is DFC better than other conventional railways?
This is a very important question. Now, dedicated freight corridor, you know that this is one of the biggest and iconic projects post independence, and I already told that eastern and western put together, it is about 2800 route kilometer. Double line section, if you convert into single line, that is about 5600 track kilometer. Now, the construction of such a gigantic project, now we have to use very latest technology. One of the latest technology that we have used, that is track laying construction machine, and we have imported 2 machines from Plaza, which is based in Austria, and another is from Harshco, which is based in USA. Now, capability of these machines that they can lay the track with a very high quality, unless actually in Indian Railways, and most of the thing that track is rail is being laid manually, which is very time consuming and very labor intensive, and the productivity is also very poor. Now, with the use of these machines, we can lay the track maximum up to maybe 1.5 track kilometer, and you know that the speed is very high and quality is very high. That is why we are able to construct these 5,600 track kilometer with the with this advanced machine. Apart from that, our corridor is fit for running the very high axle load, that is 32.5 ton axle loads, double stack container on the western corridor, 2 into 25 high voltage sections, so that carrying capacity is very high, and we are also using automatic block sectioning. These are some of the latest thing that we have used the dedicated freight corridor. Apart from that, on the track front, we have used the canted turnout, which is a very high speed turnout, and the capability of this turnout that they can take the train on the loop line at a maximum speed of 50 kmph. And when the speed is increased on loop line, then total transit time from start to end definitely is reduced. When the transit time is reduced, finally the impact is basically reducing the logistics cost.
DFC is the biggest infra project of Indian Railway. How is a project of that magnitude funded?
Very relevant question, because funding and financing is a most important part of any capital intensive project like DFC. This is in fact the globally largest ever project taken up anywhere. So the magnitude was so huge, and initially it was decided that there should be participation from multilateral agencies, funding agencies. World Bank and JICA were teamed up, and that was farmed up, and the debt equity ratio that time was 3:1. That means up to 70% we can go for the participation from multilateral agencies. Rest was equity. Right now it is almost 50 to 50-50, and the loan part comes around 50,000 crore. And so this we have also introduced something new in that, and that is a mega concept has been introduced in India by DFCCIL. It was a big achievement for India as a whole, because this opens up new vista of financing in infrastructure sector in the country. So because the commercial international banks will be coming and financing various projects, even the future projects like DFC can also be financed through one of these channels.
So, what is your experience of funding from multilateral organizations?
You see, the funding, they have a very systematic approach of financing. So what is very unique is that we have learned a lot in this financing process, because their yardsticks are very stringent, in the sense that environmental conditions are there, so they have to be met and adhered to. So funds are also linked with this, and that we have learned from them, and this new type of yardstick which evaluate, which audit from time to time whether we are following the environmental and social aspects in this process or not. So that we have, a country itself learns from new financing mode. As far as the funding is concerned, that has been largely smooth, except in some cases where there were certain issues not related to arbitration, rather cancellation of some of the projects, tenders, but largely very smooth, and JICA was also very smooth funding. There has not been any problem as such.
So, what according to you is the future of DFC's funding?
You see, till now 2 corridors have been funded from the existing setup, existing model of funding, and it has been very smooth. equity participation also there has been smooth funding from the ministry. They have ensured that nothing is held up, the project is not held up because of the funding. So that has been very smooth going till now. And as far as the new corridors are concerned, we already have established the funding mechanism. So one of them is the multilateral, that is World Bank and JICA, that may continue even in the future projects also. The something new we have tied up is the MEGA concept. MEGA is basically the World Bank lateral is there. So that lateral guarantees commercial banks internationally to fund any organization. They guarantee them that if there is any problem, we will pay back. So that guarantee brings these banks very easily in financing sector. They don't have to assess our capabilities of repayment because they are guaranteed by the World Bank that they will ensure that the repayment is done, the payback is ensured. So that opens a huge vista because these are the largest banks of the world which will be participating, and this is a very big achievement for DFCCIL as well as for the country, because it will open a huge financing vista for the country. So, and also you see nowadays there are multiple financing agencies available, then pension funds are also there which can be utilized, and in India there are agencies which are funding from the stock market, from various other sources also, and banks also are there capable to fund part of the investment.
So what do you think are the impact of DFCCIL on logistics cost of the nation?
Yes, I would say that yes, the DFCs were constructed with one of the aims was to reduce the logistics cost in the country. So that was 14%, and that was we were expected to bring it down to 8 or 9%, single digit number. Yes, I mean at present also I would say that this is happening because we are moving double stack container trains, the longer trains, heavy hauls, and so that way, I mean, the more quantity is moving per train, especially in the double stack container trains. So that way the logistics costs are coming down. But now how much of it is getting passed on to the customer, that's a slightly difficult to be quantified, because in the container segment I would say that for DFC, Indian Railways is the customer. We are moving Indian Railways trains. For Indian Railways, the CTOs are the customers, the container train operators. The container train operators are the customers of, the shipping lines, they are the customers of these container train operators, and the final exporter and the importers, they are basically customers of the shipping lines. So there are different layers. Now how much benefit is being passed on by one layer to the other, that defines how much the impact is reaching to the final customer, that is the importer and the exporter. So it's difficult to quantify because there are about 240 or 250 shipping lines, and not only shipping lines, but there are NVOCCs, what we call them as non-vessel owning container companies. So they contribute only the containers but not the vessels. So there are about 250 in the country. So how many of them have passed on these benefits or the reduction in cost to the end customers? It's very difficult to quantify, but definitely because the now container movement is primarily double stack, so definitely the costs have come down. Some part has gone as profits to these intermediaries and some part transferred to the end customer. So that's how this would be working out.
So my next question for you is, what are the DFC's plans for business development?
Yes, I mean we have got a program. I mean, one of the things that we are targeting is the development of the terminals. I mean that rapid development of terminals. So we have what we call as the Gati Shakti Cargo Terminal Policy that was brought out by Indian Railways Railway Board in December 22. So under that we have two kinds of schedules. One is that the terminals can come up on private land, that is under Schedule 1 of the policy, and then the terminals can come up on railway land. So that is dealt by the Schedule 2 of the policy. So the Schedule 1 is primarily for private land, larger terminals, normally going above 100 crores in cost, but then the Schedule 2 is the what is meant for the smaller companies, the MSMEs, that they can establish a terminal of their own in about 10 to 15 crores kind of cost. So that's what we are planning as far as terminal development is concerned. But apart from that, we have introduced a service called trucks on train. So at present we are running one service in each direction, first from between New Rewari and New Palanpur. So there we are moving about a rake of 30 wagons with about 25 trucks every day minimum, that is being governed by an MOU. But apart from that also, we do have some spare capacity also, so that the people can bring in their trucks. So this is also open to everyone, open-ended basis, on daily basis, and this has been running for almost more than a year now. And apart from that, we have introduced what we call as express cargo service. So that is in terms of NMG wagons, and this we are running between New Rewari and New Sanand North. So there the logistics companies can move their products or the packages loaded in these NMGs, which has a capacity of about 18 tons, and this takes about 10 hours for 750 kilometers, and the trucks on train takes about 10 hours for 650 kilometers. So these are the two services which we have. And apart from that, now there are special wagons, that is, they are called FMP wagons, which have been developed by a PSU called Breathweight. So that they have developed new wagons called FMP wagons, the freight flat multipurpose. So now we can have investment in these wagons also. I mean, those people who want to run a trucks on train service on their own, they can work as an aggregator, own a rake, run this service between any two stations. We can oblige on that.